Hello everyone, and welcome to This Nintendo Life episode 82. My name is Nbz, and you may be wondering, why does he sound different? Why does he sound like his quality has gone down? Well, friends, 'tis because I am on my headset microphone. I'm down in London. The holidays are here. It's a merry, merry Christmas. Christmas is in fact tomorrow, Bally. How are you holding up? How are you feeling? Are you in the spirit of the winter times?
Oh, everything's going right now. You know, Christmas tomorrow. This is the final episode of the whole year. It's been a crazy year. And, you know, next year is just going to be even more crazy. And now it's all just coming at the same time and it's strange.
Yeah, it is. It's weird because I always enjoy Christmas and being down here, but I'm excited about some other thing that's happening in January, which is more of the real.
That's
the
the real Christmas day.
Yeah.
The real Christmas day.
So we are in anticipation of that, of course, and we'll have an episode before that goes up. We'll have all those reactions about the Nintendo Switch. But for now, Bally, it's time to buckle in and look back, look to the past, see what we did in the last few months, last year, should we say, and get cracking. Before we tell you what we're going to be talking about this show, I want to just quickly note that there has not been much stuff on the YouTube channel right now. You can probably guess that's because we're on holiday and we're in different places and it's hard to get everything sorted and up. But rest assured, YouTube channel will continue its normal duties in the new year. So if you want to go check it out, it's youtube.com/ThisNintendoLife. We advise you to, because there's some fun stuff over there and we got some plans cooking for next year. So things are heating up, but Bally, how about you heat us up with some winter cheer? What are we going to be talking about for the rest of this episode?
So this episode, we're going to briefly mention a few of the games that we've been playing before the end of the year. And then, obviously, for the second segment, it is the big one. The big that you've been waiting for all year. We are going to decide the official This Nintendo Life Game of the Year 2016. So we're going to debate out our top 5 games of the year that came out this year, we should emphasize, on Nintendo platforms, of course.
Yes, Nintendo haven't had the best year, but there's some good stuff in there, some things worthy of discussion, and I hope you'll enjoy us talking about it. But Bally, let's kick things off. Nintendo put out their first mobile game, and I know everyone on this show, me and you, not the biggest fans of mobile, think it's got some bad things going on, but Super Mario Run came out, was downloaded like vajillion-ty times. I think it's over 50 million right now. Lots of one-star reviews on the App Store because people are downloading it and they're like, oh, I have to pay money for this? Well, fuck you. And that is kind of a sad state of affairs and shows you what mobile gaming has done to humanity. But Bally, we've both downloaded it. We've both played various degrees. How about you jump in first? Tell me what you think. What are your thoughts on Super Mario Run?
So I downloaded it. I sort of followed the instructions. I linked it to my Nintendo account. It found my very handsome me immediately.
Absolutely.
Recognized me.
Same me you've had since you were like 13.
Exactly. I've not changed at all. And I put in my name, and then it drags you through a level, and it says, oh, this is how you jump. Mario will automatically vault over enemies, and you're like, vault over enemies? The whole point is that Mario jumps. Why is he vaulting over enemies? But it's weird, and you obviously tap to jump, and the idea is that you tap when you're vaulting off an enemy in order to gain more height, and then you also wall jump. You can also do a little twisty jump when you can in the new Super Mario Bros. Series on Wii U, for example, where you sort of do like a little hover, which is quite cool. I do enjoy that. And then,
I mean, aesthetically and just from a general presentation point of view, mechanically as well, this is new Super Mario Brothers, right?
Exactly.
Like, this is 100% what the modern Mario era is in 2D, and I think personally, I'm not the hugest fan of that, but I think it was smart of them to make that call, because when you talk about the mass market they're going for, these are people who bought DSs and Wiis. These are people who contributed to the 30 million copies of New Super Mario Brothers on the original DS, you know? So if they're going to recognize a version of Mario, this is the version.
Exactly. So I agree. It was sensible of them to go for that. So yeah, you're taken through levels. There's a lot more emphasis on high scores, and I never really the emphasis on sort of dying and beating the level seems a little lower. It's more about getting the coins, defeating as many enemies as possible, getting the best score. And then obviously I sort of played my 3 or 4 levels, and they say, right, well, for the next level you need to pay. But they also sort of they also drag you through this other mode called Toad something something. I can't remember.
Toad Rally, I
Toad
believe it's
Rally,
called.
and that I actually enjoyed that mode better than the other sort of stage by stage mode.
Hmm.
And in this mode, you essentially play against another player, and I presume that this player was just downloaded from Nintendo or whatever, and you see a ghost of them jumping along with you and through the stage, and it's essentially whoever can make the most points. But beyond that, when you make points at certain points in the level, like a bunch of toads sort of cheer you on and get excited, and then they get added to your total of points at the very end. So I thought that was a cool mode, and it sort of felt a bit more like almost like a Guitar Hero sort of versus mode, or like
It's much more in line with what traditional people would expect from a runner, as in it's more endless, and it's
yeah.
not actually endless, but it is more like randomly generated, or taking elements of levels and sticking
Okay.
them together a bit more. And it seems to be that you get more points the more kind of fancy moves you do, the more stars you collect and coins you collect, and pull off jumps and wall jumps and things that your opponent isn't doing. I think that's what the Toads are cheering for,
Yeah.
which I guess at the end like nets out whoever had the most Toads cheering for them wins, and then you win a portion of the losers' ones as well. So I don't really know what the end game for that is. Like it doesn't seem like you get much aside from some sort of currency with the Toads that you can then invest in the Kingdom Builder mode,
Yeah, you
which
can
is
like build buildings and things, and it's all quite weird and it's all very sort of mobile game heavy,
yeah.
and something that I'm very not used to.
That stuff is the most mobile game thing about
Yeah.
this, I think, is the kingdom builder thing where you have buildings that you can develop and grow. And it's a weird mismatch, I think, because the business model they've gone for is not that of a traditional mobile game. It's a single one-time payment, and as such, you kind of should have access to all this stuff, but it kind of sequesters you off by making sure that you are only able to use the Toad Rally things by collecting Toad coupons, and you can only get the Toad coupons from doing levels in the main game, and so you can only build up your kingdom by doing that, and it's kind of this thing which you would imagine in a traditional mobile game would be leverage on microtransactions, but in this game it isn't. So it feels like there was a point at which this was in development to be a free-to-play thing, like straight up, and then they made the choice for it not to be. And I'm not sure, how people feel about that. I think, would Nintendo have made more money by going free to play? If you look at the App Store and see all these 1-star reviews, you might say yes, but I don't know. I'm not sure those people would have paid any money anyway. Like people who give it 1 star are the kind of people who just want it free and never want to pay anything.
Exactly. It's like you said, what are mobile games doing to the world? It's crazy. Like what's going on, and I feel in a really not great position to judge this game, because ultimately I'm not the biggest fan of 2D Mario, and I'm definitely not the biggest fan of mobile gaming. And when you're sort of putting the two together, I'm probably not the person who's going to give the warmest response to the game like
No.
this. So I think that I am actually really happy that it exists. And I think what it's trying to do, it does pretty damn well, really. I think that if you
Yeah.
are a filthy casual mobile gamer, as I tweeted
Hmm.
earlier, and you're looking for a bit of Mario, and you're willing to pay quite a lot for a mobile game, obviously, but quite a small amount for a game, and £8.99, I believe it is in pounds in the UK, right?
Yeah,
Um,
something like that.
I think this, from what I've seen, is actually really, really impressive, and the sort of
Yeah.
the emphasis on the single-handed gaming, where you're pressing the touch screen in order to jump. I think it works really well, and I'm excited that this will hopefully make Nintendo a lot of money. It gets Mario's face out there a lot more, and it'll be really difficult to work out how much a game like this could affect the sales of, say, something like the Switch, especially if the Switch launches with something that's 2D Mario or even 3D Mario, just the character of Mario in it. It'll be really difficult to try and associate how much that is helped by putting Mario back in the public sphere and saying, look, this is a game on your iPhones, you can try it out. I don't know how much it will have a knock-on effect, but I think for what it's trying to do, it does it really well.
Yeah, it's interesting to extrapolate towards Switch and figure out whether it's going to have any impact because the 3DS situation with Sun and Moon was kind of poised for success. You know, Pokemon is a brand that has continued to be successful forever, and we just got to a point where it was pushed over the top with Pokemon Go. So I don't know like how good of a test water that is because everyone has nostalgia for Pokemon. Obviously, people have nostalgia for Mario as well, but the transition between Go and Sun and Moon seemed a bit shorter than it would be between this big 3D Mario game and this mobile kind of simplified system. So I'm curious. I'm curious how that works out. But for me personally, I like the game a lot more than I thought. Initially, when I played it, I was like you, Bally. I just went through those levels and was like, okay, well, I'm kind of done. This is a mobile game. I don't want to pay for more of it, so I just kind of left it to the side. And I think the thing that struck me most was it actually is probably the sharpest looking version of this game we've seen. I was playing on my mum's iPad, so that might have helped with the bigger screen size and everything. But you really can tell that those character models have a brightness to them with that Retina screen that is not really shown. I haven't played the HD New Super Mario Bros. Aside from on your Wii U, but it just feels like there's a fidelity there that is kind of shocking. Which is weird because then you contrast that to the backgrounds, which seem like just painted JPEGs, right? Like it doesn't see. If you pay attention to them, they kind of stand out and stick out a bit. It's a bit of a weird mismatch. But so I went back to it the other day and I started going through and getting the coins. So the pink coins, the 5 pink coins you have to get, 5 purple coins, and you get 5 black coins. And that's when it clicked for me. And that's when I was like, oh, this is where the real meat of this game is. This is where it's coming into its own and where it's fun and where the level design really shines. And I always go back to this. It's not a quote from Patrick Klepek, but it's an idea that he espouses. And I think he was talking about this on the Waypoint Radio podcast recently, is the Mario games in the modern era with 3D Land and 3D World are fine if you play through them. They're good games if you just play through, level to level, hit the flagpole, be done. Where it really starts to shine and where you get the enjoyment and you understand the cleverness of these levels is when you're going for the extra things, when you're going for those green stars and trying to find them and their hidden areas. That's when it starts to click. And that is exactly what happened with Super Mario Run for me, which is you're going through and it's deliberately created so that you can't go and get, like, say, 3 coins in one run and then go back and get the other 2. You have to get all the coins in one run. So it does feel like a almost Super Meat Boy style thing where you're having to perfect everything in a single run and you can't make any mistakes if you want to get all those coins. So from a perspective of lengthening the time that you spend with it, it makes sense. So it makes you feel like you get more value out of it because you're constantly replaying to collect all the coins. But it also tests your skill and makes you think about positioning of Mario, where he needs to be at this time, where he needs to go, and makes your taps that much more valuable because some will put you perfectly at the height if you get it at the right timing, and some you have to do lower jumps by not holding it down as much. And there is really a level of control here that is surprising considering you have one single input. So going through and figuring that stuff out, and I did all 3 coins in the 3 levels that are available to me. I was like, wow, that was really enjoyable. Like, I actually got a lot out of it. But it is one of those things where if I buy this game, I feel like I might get burned out. Because even towards the end, like the final black coin challenge of the 3rd level is really tough, and it takes a lot of time to figure out where you need to go in the level, make sure you perfect it every time, and I can only imagine the skill ceiling for that getting higher and higher, and as a result, my frustration may be going up and up, right? So there is a potential, if I was to get the whole game and do that, it might leave a sour taste in my mouth, but for the moment, I enjoyed what I played. I don't really feel the need to go to it, but it is the sort of thing where if I see it on the App Store discounted to like £3, I might actually bite, Like, at the moment, I'm not feeling that it's just justified, but I do think that there is a good game in there. And that really surprised me. Especially, we're not biggest fans of 2D Mario, but there is something about the shortness of these levels and the setup which makes them palatable to me. So, Bally, I would encourage you to, like, maybe go back and try those to get those coins, because there is enjoyment to be found there for sure.
Yeah, no, I'd maybe go back and give a level or two ago. But I'd agree with you. Even if I do enjoy it that more, I would definitely get burned out if I considered buying the whole package.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I mean, this came out of the blue, and I think it's just worked pretty well. Other than obviously the negative reviews, because you actually have to pay money to play a game. Wow. But
yeah, what a crazy concept.
What a crazy concept. So that's a bit of a shame that people are reading into it that way. But I think maybe that's something that could get better in time. The more games that Nintendo release on mobile, and people realize that they all cost $8.99, and that they're all going to have like a little sort of free demo, as it were. But then you are going to have to pay something, and that by the time, say, the 5th or the 6th Nintendo game comes out on mobile, people will be like, all right, I get it. Nintendo, when they release mobile games, this is what you pay for them. I get that, but I still really enjoy playing a Nintendo game on my mobile. I mean, I don't personally necessarily. I think this game is good and it's fine, and I look forward to what Nintendo can do from now on. But I think it's really productive for people who do like the mobile game and get a bit of Nintendo time in.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if they will continue to use this model for any of their future games. Like, they have said that they are looking to use the free-to-play model with future titles, so does Animal Crossing and Fire Emblem come out and do something completely different? Who knows? But if they're of good quality, then I'd be interested. I'm very curious about this Fire Emblem thing, Bally, because to me, that is the sort of game that works perfectly on a touchscreen. Like, it doesn't seem like there's any barriers to entry there, and it could really hit in a place that is important to me. So we'll see. I'm curious, to say the least.
I'd be intrigued to know how many of the 50 million downloads have paid the $8.99 as well. I think
they've confirmed around 2 million sales. I'm not sure how accurate that is. It's probably going up and up as people continue to play it and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, for the time period, that seems pretty good. 2 million.
Yeah, and if you think about like the usual conversion rate for free-to-play games is in the single digits percentage-wise. I think it's 2% is on average the number of people who actually pay for free-to-play stuff. So on that level, I think they're doing pretty well, all things considered. We'll see how it goes. Lots of things to look forward to in 2017, including all those mobile games. So we'll cover them. We'll continue to talk about them and give our thoughts and opinions. Bally, you've been you're busy all the time, son.
So busy. But I have time now, which is the important thing. So for next time, I will have played a lot more, hopefully.
Good stuff. I have been playing loads. I've been off for like a few weeks now, so I've had time to sink my teeth in. And while I was at home, I played through an entire PS4 game because at home, Bally, we have this really nice big TV now that is super nice to look at. It's not 4K, it's 1080p, but it pops when you got a good visually impressive game on it, and I thought I've got to play something while I'm at home. So I bought Ratchet and Clank, the remake of the old Ratchet and Clank from the PS2 days, and went through the whole thing. Took me 10 hours or so. It's good, digestible, solid fun, and I really enjoyed that game. Now, Bally, neither of you or I have played Ratchet and Clank before. It's one of those things back in the day, Ali T, our good buddy, old pal, we always refer to, he was big into the PS2 Jack and Daxters and the Ratchet and Clanks, and he always played those games, and I remember like sitting at his house watching him play. Do you remember any of that stuff, Bally? Back in the day?
Yeah, he absolutely loved it. I did enjoy watching him play those games. We never really got into them ourselves for whatever reason. We're just too obsessed with Nintendo, I guess, Nbz. But
sure,
I did enjoy.
But I mean, Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter were very much cribbing from the era of Nintendo mascot platforming, right?
Yeah, no, you're right, Nbz. They are completely copying Nintendo and being like, we can do a mascot too. And they were really cool games, and they were often just slightly more detailed, more gritty, earthier games, I'd even argue, than a lot of the Nintendo mascot titles at the time. But, you know, back then I was way too obsessed with my GameCube to want to ever try out, you know, a Ratchet and Clank game. But now that like the new one's out and like we have a PS4 in Brussels, I'd be quite keen to try it at some point.
You should really play this game, Bally. It's hard to kind of describe in the sense that it feels very different from anything else that came out in 2016 because it feels like a PS2 era game with 2016 visuals. In the sense that you're going to different planets and they have the ice place and the fireplace. And it's very kind of generic like things that you would expect from that era, but it's just good old gameplay that is given it to me, and I absolutely loved going through. And I think the thing that distinguished those games from Nintendo stuff was far more of a focus on shooting, far more of a focus on kind of less so platforming. There is platforming stuff in there, but much more kind of going through, defeating enemies, trying to get through waves of stuff, and beating them in creative ways. And the thing that Ratchet and Clank does so well is it just gives you this arsenal of weaponry that is really creative and fun to use. So you have stuff like, I think it's called the Groovinator, which is you shoot out this disco ball, and enemies just start dancing in front of you. They just stop their animation, stop attacking you, just start grooving around. And every enemy you fight in the game has a unique animation. So there are these tanks that come through, and you're thinking like, nah, surely they didn't do. You throw out the Groovinator, the tank starts dancing. And like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like the animation is pretty incredible, and it's a 30 frames per second game, but it's harder to tell. I think this was the same way with Wind Waker on the Wind Waker HD, is that's a 30 FPS game as well, but I struggled to find a difference because of the care and attention and detail that goes into animations in both of these games. Like it's kind of astonishing how much the characters move around and how expressive they are and how much the enemies have to interact with you with. So that is something that really struck me while I was playing through the whole game.
In terms of the visuals, isn't it also a weapon that sort of turns every single enemy into pixels?
It does, yeah.
I've
which
seen
is
like
crazy.
gameplay of that, and I just think visually that weapon looks incredible, the way it just works in real time.
Yeah, totally. It's doing some neat tricks there, and it may be the case that this game is lower in scope because it is based on a PS2 game, so you're not really rendering as much. Like you get these vast cityscapes and stuff around you, but you can't go there. Like it's all aesthetic, it's all in the background, but because they have the power of the PS4 and they're rendering these like smaller areas that you're actually interacting with, everything can just look amazing, and so it has this sparkle and sheen to it that is kind of unmatched by anything. I think this is the best looking PS4 game. It looks better than Uncharted 4. It is just stunning visually and just has a color and character to it that I really appreciate. And it's just it's so wonderful and fun to play about with. And those weapons are great because the idea behind them is the more you use them, the more abilities you unlock. So you're kind of leveling up weapons independent of one another, and you also have your own kind of character level. It's very kind of basic RPG stuff. It's not like you're going into deep menus, but there's a system by which you can upgrade and get extra stuff for your weapons, like kind of this grid thing that you invest currency into, and you basically improve the power of it, the range of it, that kind of stuff, like the number of the amount of ammo you can hold. So it is a case of finding a weapon you really like and sticking with it and just using it a bunch, and eventually it pays off in the end when you have this arsenal full of stuff that you can really go ham with. And the pixelizing gun is one that I actually didn't use that much, and the reason was because it was very close range and it was more like a shotgun style thing. But when I was going close range, I was using a flamethrower, so I was just like holding down this flamethrower button and just roasting people, just walking tank just through people. So that's kind of the way that I went. Like I kind of lent on different types of weapons for different scenarios, and it's just satisfying. It's fun to level that stuff up and go across these areas and just find secret places. There's hidden things all about the place. It just feels like a classic ass video game, like there's not much in the way of story. I think they actually throw some of the movie cutscenes in there, and they pop up on the screen like you can't record this piece of gameplay because it's from a movie, and we're going to get sued if we do that because movie studios are assholes, as everyone knows. So that's an interesting part, but by and large, it's very cartoony. It's very Saturday morning. It's nothing too serious, and there's nice gameplay variety. Like I remember Ali T, doing these surfboarding things, and there's like races in here where you're on a board that you're like going against people, and you can do it like Mario Kart where you're going for like gold cups and stuff, which I was not interested in at all because I'm bad at generally any racing thing in any game, so I just did the bare minimum and moved on with my day. But they shake things up, like rail grinding and jetpack stuff. Every planet you get to is a new environment to explore and to look at and to appreciate, and there's a lot of killing enemies, but there's creative ways that you can deal with them. So like, I talked about the Groovinator, which makes them dance, so I'd get them locked into that, and then I'd throw out this pulse thing that kind of sits there in the middle and kind of does damage as it just pulses out of itself, and then I just get up close and flamethrower them. So I've gotten like all these three things combined together, like creatively using my weapons to dispatch enemies in more productive ways. And yeah, that's something that's kind of unique here. I've not really done that in many games before, so I really enjoyed it. I think this is a freaking great game, and it's nice to look at. It's just fun. You know, sometimes it's hard to describe a game. You just say it's just fun. I just enjoyed sitting there going through, you know. Great time. Loved it. So yeah, it's Ratchet and Clank.
And it came out earlier this year, didn't it?
Yeah, it's a 2016 game, so maybe it might show up in a list or something. Who knows? You'll have to find out and see.
We'll be interested to see, like, with other gaming outlets, what they think of this game in terms of Games of the Year discussions as well.
Yeah, it's hard because it is a remaster of an old game. Not a remake, I should say. Remaster and remake are kind of interchangeable terms for whatever reason, but they mean different things, right? Like, this is a ground-up, complete remake of the game. It keeps all the old elements, but, like, look how different it is, you know, from the original. Whereas there's stuff like Last of Us Remastered, which is, hey, this is the PS3 game, but we put it in 1080p this time in 60 FPS, you know? Yeah. Like, There's effort gone into this and care that hasn't gone into a lot of those other games. So, yeah, it's weird. It's hard. It's a similar thing with Dragon Quest VII, which I've been playing as well. But we'll talk about that more, I think, in the next segment, Bally, because we have to talk about the top Nintendo games of 2016. I think we're going to close things out for this segment, and we'll meet you after the break with some debate. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Alright everyone, welcome back to the second half of the show. It's time for Game of the Year shit. It's time for us to talk about all the video games that Nintendo put out, and also come back with some of your emails which you sent in, some old games, some new games, and have a look at the listenership and what they've been playing in 2016. It's good broad representation, I think, Bally.
Yeah, very broad. I think broad is the right word.
Yeah, totally. So you want to kick it off with an email from Simon, who sent in his old games last week, and now we have his 2016 games.
Sure, so his 2016 game, well, they're not, yeah, they are 2016, sorry. Number 8 is Photos with Mario for the 3DS. Number 7, Metroid Prime Blast Ball. Number 6, Lost Reavers. Number 5, Star Fox Zero. Number 4, My Nintendo Picross Twilight Princess. Number 3, Hyrule Warriors. Number 2, Mini Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge for Wii U and 3DS. And number 1 is Twilight Princess HD.
It's pretty slim pickings there. It kind of represents the year of Nintendo.
It really does, because there are some big ones in there, but obviously there's a lot of smaller stuff came out this year. I completely forgot about Mini Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge. That was a weird one that came out a while ago.
Bally, I don't think I've ever heard of Photos with Mario.
I don't even know what that is.
I imagine it's an app on 3DS where you take photos with Mario. I don't know.
We cursed the Nintendo podcast, and we don't even know what Photos with Mario is.
Simon, always with the deep cuts.
Deep cut, Simon.
So there you go. So we also had Rachel last week sending in her old games, and this week she has sent us the 2016 ones. So we'll take a look at those. She also has The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD. She says, like you both, I'm working my way through the Zeldas I've not played, and while it's not the best ever, the dungeons alone make this one of my favorites. I would agree. Ratchet and Clank on PS4, which I just talked about in the last segment. She says, again, a game that scratched an itch, this time a 3D platformer, and one which was, above everything else, very fun. It was a very capable game, a joy to play in a genre, while seemingly now having a resurgence underrepresented in recent years. Uncharted 4, having played through previous 3 main Uncharted games last year, this was a natural progression. Whilst the Uncharted games have never been as impressive to me as they are to many, for me this was the best of the lot and a very solid and spectacular game. Forza Horizon 3. Okay, it's a racing game, but what a racing game. Similar to other games I've mentioned, Forza Horizon 3 is pure, unadulterated fun in parts, and for someone who likes cars, as I do, money well spent. It also meant my Xbox One wasn't just gathering dust all year. And finally, Pokemon Moon. I know Nbz isn't particularly interested in this installment of Pokemon, and it's nothing mold-breaking or overly revolutionary. I would likely put 100 plus hours into it, whether it was good or not. The latest Pokemon games are, it turns out, pretty damn good. And while there's quite a lot of 2016/winter releases I've not had the chance to play, Pokemon Moon is my early pick for personal game of the year. Anyway, apologies for the mini essays on many of my picks. I look forward to hearing yours. Keep up the good work. So, some cool stuff in there. A lot of stuff I've played. Uncharted and Ratchet and Clank. Forza Horizon 3 is one that I think, Bally, you'd enjoy quite a bit.
It's just racing games. I've just got this itch for racing games that I've not scratched in a very long time. That's obviously because, I got Nintendo systems, and it'd be nice to just get a good old arcadey style, not realistic, but photorealistic racer, and just give one a blast. It'd be nice if something like that could come to Switch.
Totally, I'm sure it's possible. Definitely possible.
So our next list is from Rusty, who's from the internet, who says, "You guys are getting me through waiting around in a day clinic, waiting for my wisdom teeth to be yanked out. Lol. Absolutely love the show. Been listening for 2 years. Well, glad we can get you through the day clinic,
Absolutely.
Rusty." Number 10, Art Academy Atelier. Atelier. What is Atelier?
It's a thing. Don't ask.
It's a
Let's
thing,
just keep
right?
going.
No questions asked. Here we go. Number 9, We Fit
Anime,
You.
Bally, anime.
Number 9, We Fit You. I'm going to get criticism for that.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9, We Fit You. Number 8, Wii U Sports Club, the tennis only. Number 7, Rayman Legends. Number 6, Twilight Princess. Number 5, Zelda Wind Waker HD. Number 4, Nintendo Land. Number 3, Affordable Space Adventures. Number 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Number 1, Zombie U. And he says, "Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year," of course.
Absolutely. A lot of Wii U exclusives in there from over the years, so it looks like he's kind of playing catch up, which is always good, especially when Switch is around the corner. So interesting stuff there. The next email comes from our friend Acerbus, who writes, "Hi, Buzz and Baller. Congratulations on another year of great podcasting. I look forward to listening and watching your 2017 content. Now here is my Game of the Year list." He has got 7 games, so we'll run them down. Zero Time Dilemma at number 7. Before 2016, when I played Earthbound and my 2016 Game of the Year, 999 and Virtue's Last Reward were my favourite 2 games of all time. I don't like this game nearly as much and thought it a disappointing end to the series that left a lot of questions unanswered, but it is still objectively a good game. Just not what I wanted or expected from the finale. Number 6, Ratchet and Clank. This game is just fun. As I said in the previous segment, the weapon variety, secrets, and deep upgrades tree coupled with satisfying combat just make a fun experience all around. Number 5, Fire Emblem Fates. I haven't played Revelations yet, but I really enjoyed both Birthright and Conquest. I really like what they did with the pairing up mechanic in this game. They could have played it safe and kept it the same as Awakening, but they recognized that it made the game too easy and found a way to implement it better. Number 4, Witcher 3, Blood and Wine. A lot of people praise this expansion for its quantity of content, but I think its quality should be commended as well. The quests and setting are, in my opinion, more interesting in this expansion than both the previous expansion and even the main game. Number 3, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Spirit of Justice. A large helping of Ace Attorney that mixes up the pacing a little, and the seances were actually an interesting gimmick for arguably the first time. Number 2, Civilization 6. I have over 800 hours in Civ 5.
What?
If you told me at the start of the year that Civ 6 was coming out this year and it wouldn't be my game of the year, I wouldn't have believed you. I don't think I like it as much as Civ 5, but it's too early to say. Definitely better than Civ 5 was at launch without expansion, so who knows. It is great though. And number 1, The Witness. This game is art. I feel like I had a gaming renaissance playing this game and Earthbound very close together. even though they came out 20 years apart. I honestly do feel, like with Earthbound, that everyone should play this game. Don't look up solutions, just get out your notebook, solve puzzles, and explore. Apologies for the long email. Bring on the year of the Switch. Your pal, Acerbus. Well, yeah, there's some very well written entries there.
Can we just pause and say 800 hours of Sim 6?
Look, Valley, I played 900 hours of Pokemon Diamond, so I'm not going to tell anyone.
Did you do that in the space of a year?
No, probably 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But he's talking about Civ 5, so I don't think he's done that in a year.
Okay, sorry, I've got you. Right.
Yeah. Because Civ 6 came out this year.
I misunderstood that. I was a bit worried for a second there, but yeah.
Yeah, some great picks in there. I really need to get to the 999 series, Zero Time Dilemma. It seems like some people are disappointed by it, but Witcher 3, obviously, Blood and Wine I loved, Ratchet and Clank I loved. The Witness is the one, though, Bally, that I know he says everyone should play it, but some people feel physically sick playing The Witness or even watching a video of The Witness. I love it.
It's like, it's a first... So, like, you tried, like, your 20 minutes of Doom and that sort of worked out to some degree, right? And then
kind of.
The Witness, which is like this puzzle game that... Obviously, it's first person, but you're looking at like a grid in front of you. I don't get how it can still.
Well, you have to move around the island though, Bally, and it's like... that and the motion that goes along with it and the speed of movement. I literally 8 minutes of watching that Giant Bomb quick look, and I had to lie down for like 40 minutes. It was horrible.
Maybe they could come out with like a VR version that might actually reduce that feeling and make you feel a bit more.
It's a good shout. I know you want to play The Witness, Bally.
Yeah,
expressed
I
interest
really
in it.
would like to try something like that. That was very early this year.
It was,
really
yeah.
Interested
totally.
to try it. Maybe it could come to Switch. I'm going to say that a lot
again.
Between now and the Switch. Like maybe that could come to Switch, please. Yeah. But yeah. So our next email is from Sullivan, who's from the internet. Hello, Nbz and Bally. My list is primarily made up of games from years past, since that was the most cost-efficient way to play games. Number 10, Batman Arkham Origins. Number 9, Elite Beat Agents. Number 8, The World Ends With You. Number 7, Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. Number 6, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. Yes. Number 5, The Walking Dead Season 1. Number 4, Spec Ops The Line. Number 3, The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. Only number 3. Number 2, Fire Emblem Awakening. And number 1, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Hope you both have fantastic holidays. Sincerely, Sullivan. Wow.
Looks like Sullivan was playing through the MGS series this year, which is commendable. I personally prefer to watch people play through it rather than play through myself, excepting Metal Gear Solid 5, of course. Some stuff in there. I really need to get to Spec Ops The Line. Everyone talks about that as a very subversive,
Which one was that on? Which one was that?
Spec Ops The Line is this like very subversive shooter that is kind of... It's giving you a message about like war and stuff that a lot of shooters kind of pass by, and I've had it on Steam, for a while, so yeah, I need to get to that at some point. And Elite Beat Agents, everyone talks about Elite Beat Agents, and that's a rhythm game that is probably something that we should have played at some point.
Yeah,
so
I'd be interested in that one as well.
Great. All right, well, the next list comes from our friend Kevin S., who says, my Game of the Year list is incredibly short because I actually fell out of gaming entirely for about 8 months this year, despite playing a few titles sporadically. There are games that I'm working my way through right now, like Chrono Trigger, that I'm loving, but this will just be a 2016 list. And he has 3 games. Number 3, Uncharted 4. The conclusion to the Uncharted series, one of my all-time favourite series. I don't know if my tastes have just changed over the years, but this one was good, not fantastic the way I loved 2 so much. The narrative, visuals, and voice acting were top-notch, but the gameplay was just pretty good, to be honest. Number 2, Doom. I've never actually played a Doom game before this one, but it's becoming my all-time favourite FPS. It's the first FPS that I've played that had such an outstanding single-player campaign. The level design was out of the park, and the controls were some of the best I've ever experienced. In a way, the exact opposite of Uncharted. Almost no story, but addictive running and gunning make this game. This one converted me into an old-school shooter fan. And number 1, Final Fantasy 15. There's a level of charm and love put into the game that really brings the world and characters to life. Every positive element that the Final Fantasy series is known for is evoked here. The gameplay is equally outstanding. Perfect action mixed with RPG strategy. The game has some serious flaws. Backtracking that's extremely tedious and a camera that you'll be fighting against at times in battle. But it's brought the magic back to gaming that I had been missing for such a long time. I need to get to Final Fantasy 15, Bally. It's going down in price. I'm waiting for it to go down. The Last Guardian, actually, got cut in price like 50% and is now 25 quid. And I was thinking, probably gonna pick that up pretty soon. But yeah, some good games on there, and thank you, Kevin, for the list.
Our final list is from Johan, who's from Norway. Greetings from Trondheim, Norway. I've been a listener since the Minish Cap episode, but haven't gotten around to submitting anything until now. I can rarely think of a good question. The lineup of new Nintendo games was a bit underwhelming this year, so the only new games I picked up were Fire Emblem Fates and Pokemon Moon. Neither of them I have finished yet. I'm right with you. I've not finished them either. I started on Awakening when Fates came out, finished it in about a week, picked up Fates and got sidetracked halfway through Birthright. However, this was the year I bought a PS4 and later a PC, so I've mostly been playing on those. Here's my top 5. Number 5, Inside. A great game I ended up being slightly underwhelmed by. The game got an insane amount of praise, so when I played it, I waited for this amazing groundbreaking thing to happen, but it didn't. I kind of got the idea quite early and expected the game to be different from what it really was. Still a really solid game. Number 4, Firewatch. I played this in one sitting, home alone on a warm summer night, so the experience as a whole was pretty great. The game is probably not for everyone, but for me, that night it was perfect. Number 3, Uncharted 4. Also a bit underwhelming. Fantastic animations, voice acting, scenery, etc. But some parts were a bit tedious, and at times it seems like you were just interacting with the animations. The climbing is still a bit uninteresting, and towards the end I got pretty sick of every structure collapsing as Nate touches it. Number 2, Owlboy. This is a Norwegian studio, so I might be a bit biased, but the game really impressed me. The amount of emotions they managed to put into the pixel art style truly amazed me. The game feels very much like Zelda. It features interesting puzzles, goofy characters, great music, and a great adventure, which gives it a complete and unique experience. Number 1, Overwatch. I kept playing for hours on end simply because of the variety in playstyle the different heroes offered. Blizzard are not looking to stop support anytime soon, so this is a game I'll be looking forward to playing more as soon as I'm done with my exams.
Well, there we have it. Anything there, Bally, that interests you? I know you played Firewatch.
I enjoyed Firewatch. I talked about that earlier this year on the show. I'd like more experiences like Firewatch. I think experiences like Firewatch are very slim on Nintendo platforms. And
Totally.
I really hope that, I'll say it again, I really hope stuff like that can come to Switch.
There we go. Just keep
something you can
bell.
just take on the go, something story driven that you can just take on the go and dip back into a bit of story, and then when you're back at home, stick back in your TV. And Firewatch is a glorious looking game, so just stick it back in. I think games like that would be great. I'm also very interested in Owlboy. I think that thing looks awesome.
It does look really good. I hope to play Owlboy some point next year. It'll probably be a Steam sale. And I'm also one of those people who heaped insane praise on Inside, so apologies if I went over the top
Insane
there.
praise.
Well, I love that game. I think it's fantastic. So, yeah, with that said, Bally, I think that's all the emails of people for their Game of the Years. So let's jump right in to our selections, what we're going to be talking about. We're going to run down the list of everything that came out, and we're going to decide on a combined collective top 5 between the two of us.
Shall we run down some rules?
Sure, you go ahead and lay those out.
So these games had to come out on a Nintendo system or had to have been made by Nintendo. So we're going to, include a little quick mention of Super Mario Run, Miitomo, that sort of thing. And we should also say smaller sort of spin-off games like Star Fox Guard we're counting as whole separate games. We're also dividing up Fire Emblem Fates, importantly, into Birthright, Conquest, and Revelations, because we believe it's just easier to talk about those games separately. So they are counting as 3 separate games for this list. And I think that's all the rules we really need. I think, any more from you, Nbz?
No, sounds good. Let's figure this out, Bally. So let's run down the games we have, and then maybe let's start cutting some stuff and talking about them and figuring out how to whittle this down. So the list we currently have is Box Boy, Fire Emblem Fates Birthright, Conquest and Revelation, Yokai Watch, Tokyo Mirage Session Sharp FE, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Spirit of Justice, Dragon Quest VII, Star Fox Zero, Star Fox Guard, Rhythm Heaven Megamix, or Rhythm Paradise Megamix if you want to be specific for us in the UK, Pokemon Sun, and then we have Miitomo and Super Mario Run, and I also want to quickly discuss Pokemon Go and AM2R, though we're not having those up for potentially getting anywhere, because going against our rules, I guess, Bally. So
Sure.
maybe let's talk about Pokemon Go real quick. It was a weird thing this year, right? Like, it was kind of crazy.
It was a
set
thing.
Everything on fire.
Definitely.
Yeah, I
huge
felt
waves.
like I got into it later on. At the start, it was kind of fucked up. It wasn't working. I walked around Edinburgh, and it just wasn't doing anything like near my house at all. And then we went down to London, and I kind of got into the groove a bit. There were like these huge groups of people in the middle of London just standing by the Parliament going crazy, and it was unlike anything I've ever seen before. And I didn't really go too deep with it, but I kind of enjoyed it in the end, funnily enough.
I did not have data on my phone in Brussels at the time.
Yeah, that's kind of
and
tragedy. Yeah.
I played it a little bit with a bit of Wi-Fi, and that was fun for all of a few minutes. But I've never given that game a proper go with data, so maybe I owe it to that game to at least try that, perhaps. But an interesting one. I think it was worth mentioning, but it's not quite going to make our top 5. I think, Nbz.
I think in better years we wouldn't even mention it, you know.
No, exactly.
But we gotta fill it out. The other one I want to mention, AM2R, which is the another Metroid 2 remake, which Nintendo has shunned, has banned, has copyright struck, all that shit. And I just want to say it is easily one of the best games that came out this year.
We were worried that Nintendo would take our podcast down if we included it in our top 5. So
clearly. So we just couldn't do it. Yeah, got to be safe, Bally. Got to be safe. So yeah, I absolutely loved it. I think it is an incredible experience. It takes Metroid 2 and makes it playable. It has like smooth controls, really cool new boss battles that the developers made, and looks fantastic. The sprite work is just beautiful. Absolutely a treasure of a game, and I hope, Bally, you get to play it at some point, because I don't think Nintendo are gonna remake Metroid 2. Something tells me, Bally, it's not really a financially viable thing for them to undertake.
Who knows where Metroid 2 is gonna end up, but yeah, weird one.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Miitomo quickly. I don't think we can cut this very easily. It's not even a game. It was the hottest thing in the world for about 24 hours. And I remember sitting there like next to my sister on the iPad being like, this is stupid and dumb and I like it, for like an hour and a half, and I just kind of lost track of time. But it really fell off a cliff, didn't it? There wasn't anything to really draw you back into doing it whatsoever.
Yeah, it was just answering questions and funny voices, and that was fun for like half an hour for me. I don't know, maybe an hour.
Yeah,
it was like, hey, Nbz, let's go on Skype. Let's make him read your funny question. Okay, like that's hilarious. What do I get for it? Oh, some coins. What do I spend these coins on?
Nothing, because my Nintendo is awful.
Oh yeah, it was just.
Can we talk about worst thing of the year? My Nintendo.
Oh God.
2016 was a year in which we had Trump and Brexit. I still think my Nintendo is the worst thing of 2016.
It's right up there, the top 3.
Yeah.
My Nintendo, like the system they've set up and the way they do the coins and things, it's actually really good. Like it seems like a really solid. It could be great. It's a solid system they've inserted. They're just not updating it. The rewards, you're not getting enough for your rewards. And it's just absolutely horrible. It's like the
value is all over the place. Why is something like valued so much higher than something else when clearly they're similarly priced in the shop? It's just such a train wreck.
Maybe they've just given up trying to fix it before Switch, and they're going to give it a massive revamp for Switch, and they better, because like I don't know, but at the same time, how do they launch something that offers sort of semi-free stuff along with a console launch? It could be tricky. Maybe that could be some way of implementing more of the virtual console downloads and things, assuming that it goes far beyond the GameCube rumors and has the other systems on and things.
So anyway, bye Miitomo. It was fun knowing you. And then finally, I think the games that we're not really caring about, Super Mario Run, which I expressed early in this episode already. I kind of enjoyed it, despite the fact I've not actually played the full game. So I'm not sure we can even nominate it.
A real positive move from Nintendo. That I said,
Yeah.
I'm not massively a big fan of it. I should go back, like you mentioned, Nbz, and give it a bit more of a go. But I think for, like I mentioned earlier, someone who's a bit more casual, wants a bit of Mario, doesn't have a Nintendo system, it's a pretty sweet package.
Yeah, totally. Okay, Bally, let's get into the meat of things
Oh boy.
and discuss the big games. So, how do you want to do this? You want to propose cuts and
I
see if we
think
agree?
we cut away at this iceberg until we're left with 5 games.
Okay.
So we're currently on 12.
Yes.
So shall we go rotate between each other and just knock one off gradually? And then if someone's got a big issue, we go, oh, hold up. We need to talk this out. And
all right.
But we shouldn't get there for a little while, I think.
Sure. You want to go first?
Sure. I'll go first. I will cut. And so, like, we should also say the first cuts aren't the worst games. They're just the games that we're not making the top 5 first, I guess you could argue. I don't know.
Sure.
Anyway, I've not played enough of this game, and maybe that's harsh, but I've kind of got the gist that I know where the game's going, and that's Pokemon Sun.
You're going to kill your own baby, Bally.
I'm going to come on a bit. I mean, I'm enjoying it so far. I'm not going to try and pretend I've played much of this game, and I think it's going to be a great Pokemon game, but I definitely think there are 5 better games on this list easily.
Do you think you're going to regret that next year, Bally, once you've beaten the game? Because I think a lot of people are saying that it does some cool things that are different, so...
Perhaps. Maybe I'm being overly harsh by cutting it so soon.
It's also like impossible for you to do that right now because you just haven't played enough of it. So.
Exactly. So this is a bit of a weird one, but I mean, I'm going to discuss this game a lot more in the show. So if I want to say actually it should be in the top 5, we'll tackle that hurdle perhaps when we come to it. But at this point in time, it's not shining so hard that it needs to be in the debate, in my opinion.
Okay, fair enough. I am going to cut my own baby as well. I'm going to cut Yokai Watch, which is the flip side of this coin, I guess. Yokai Watch came out this year in Europe, which is weird because I think the second game's already out in North America. But it was a delayed release that I was really interested in, and I had a lot of fun playing Yokai Watch earlier this year. It definitely, I think, got samey, and I could see the loop happening, and I blasted through. I beat it in like 15 hours or something, which is relatively short for an RPG. But it is, it's for young kids. It's not supposed to be that taxing, and it actually was It got surprisingly tough towards the end with that weird battle system and everything. You wouldn't think that these mini games on touchscreens would result in anything that was too tactical, but it actually did get complex, and I thought that it was really good looking. Looks better than most stuff on 3DS, and really pops. A great art style. Level 5 is just great at getting stuff out 3DS. But ultimately, I don't think it stacks up against some other games here. So I'm going to let it go. But I enjoyed you, Yokai Watch. You were fun. So that's that.
Cool. I don't know how you'll feel about this, but I'm going to try anyway. Box Boy.
No, not ready.
Not ready.
I'm not ready to let go of that.
I'll pass the baton back to you then. I think that's easier than me trying to take off something that you've played.
Okay.
Unless you're going to attack something I've played, and then we're going to...
God, yeah, it's hard. I think I'm going to take off Star Fox Guard.
Oh, oh man, we need to readjust.
Okay. Well, let me just give you an argument, because here's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to have both Zero and Guard on this list, right? Like, I think it's one or the other. And from what I took of you playing those two games, I think that you spoke more positively about Zero than you did about Guard. And Zero is more of a traditional Star Fox game. It did some things with the gamepad that you liked, and as you said, those dogfights were way improved. And I just feel that it should maybe be one or the other. So that's why I was proposing it.
I'll buy your argument and say you're right. I think both of them on the list would be pushing it. So I will agree that Star Fox Guard can go. I really liked Star Fox Guard. It was really one of those sort of unexpected games that you just don't see coming. And sort of it started as the tech demo, obviously, and it really just does unique stuff that you could only do on Wii U. I've not played it in an environment where perhaps you're watching or someone else is watching Nbz, because
Yeah,
that could be quite fun on some of the more challenging levels to be like, oh, there's a robot coming on that camera. Go look out here, look out there.
totally.
But I think that it's a formula sort of action tower defense with sort of shooting elements that I thought just worked really well with the cameras, and I was pleasantly surprised. You're right, having enjoyed Star Fox Zero so much, it was nice playing another game in that universe that was so closely tied together. It's good fun.
Okay, cool. Do you want to take a pick?
No, I mean,
Look, all these games are ones that I've played now,
exactly.
so it's
So
harder
like,
for you to go
it's
for
already
it.
two of the three that are gone with me, so I'll pass it back to you again, MBZ. I think is easiest.
Okay, well, I'll kill Revelation, Fire Emblem Fates Revelation.
Okay, interesting.
See, I would.
Because I know
I'm
you
gonna.
prefer this game to Birthright,
I do, yeah.
but I know you know I like Birthright quite a
I
bit.
know. So this is the dance that's being
So
taken
this is where
Bally.
this list takes shape. This
It
is
does,
where.
yeah. Revelation is really good. It's definitely what Birthright should have been, I think. And it gives you the full story. It allowed me to go and do all the child unit stuff, which I just like doing. It's kind of, it's a relaxing after game and has some cool end game stuff. I think the climax of Revelation is probably the strongest of all three games. We're talking about like the final map and final boss, by far the most impressive, and was really just a joy to play. So I really love it, but there's another better Fire Emblem game on this list, so I'm gonna let it go. Like you with Star Fox Zero and Guard, I think there may only be room for one, but maybe two. We'll see
One
how
or
this
two,
works.
who
I'm
knows?
not sure
I'm
if
not
I
there
can
yet.
allow that to happen. So I'll
I
cut that.
mean, you got Tokyo and Mirage sessions just chilling. Like that's another FE
Ugh,
related thing.
it is. You're right. So much Fire Emblem this
So
year,
much
Bally.
fun. But I'm
Um,
gonna try and get around to Revelations at some point. I can't say next year because it's Switch filled, and I'm also in
yes,
the middle of Conquest, which will take me a
totally.
while to beat. So I'll hold off on Revelations, but I'd like to get to it at some point.
Okay. So this is
Um,
getting harder for me now, Bally. So maybe we should try and put stuff that has to be on the list from both of us.
okay, one each.
Okay, so I'm gonna go and say Fire Emblem Fates Conquest has to be on this list.
Sure, I can agree with that. I know you absolutely love it. So even if I said I absolutely hated it, I think it still deserves to be on the list because that's the power one co-host can wield on this thing. So I
Sure.
will back you that Conquest should be in the top five.
Okay.
I'm gonna go for obviously Star Fox Zero. I was gonna say Star Fox
Okay.
Guard. That's already gone. Star Fox
Okay.
Zero. We'll talk about that game in a bit, but I absolutely love it.
Okay.
Let's cut.
Oh, it's hard though, Bally.
Can
Okay.
we go
Here.
back to me and my original suggestion?
What is your original suggestion?
Can we cut Box Boy?
God, I'm
Okay,
having real.
let's step back. Let's step back. We got
Okay.
Dragon Quest Seven, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Spirit of
Yes.
Justice, chilling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something of that's got to go now. It
Yeah.
really
You're
does,
right.
Nbz.
You're right.
Come on,
You're right. I don't. And I think.
you're defending
I th-
everything.
I think I'm going to cut Phoenix Wright.
Interesting.
I think I'm cutting that because I enjoyed it, but it is definitely it's not the best Phoenix Wright game. I think like it said quite a lot that I played Apollo Justice right before this and enjoyed that more than the new game. And I appreciate it did some good stuff. It had the seances, which I think it was Cerbus who wrote in about saying that they were one of the best new mechanics they've introduced in a long time, and I think that's true as well. But the story just didn't quite do it. Like, there's some interesting stuff in there, but it is clutching on a lot of old ideas with spirit mediums and bring people back from the dead and that kind of stuff, which has been done in, I think, more creative and interesting ways in older Phoenix Wright games. And ultimately it didn't like stick a landing that kind of hit me in the face like other games in the series have. So I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a good game, but it's not up there in the echelon for me with all the Phoenix Wrights.
Okay.
So I'm going to cut it.
We're down to 7. I'll quickly run through them. Fire Emblem Fates Conquest, Star Fox Zero, Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix, Fire Emblem Fates Birthright, Box Boy, Dragon Quest 7, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, #FE. Now can we cut a Box Boy? Like, I totally get why you want to defend it, but you're defending a lot here.
I know. I see. I actually, and this is really silly because I don't even have.
Or you can take a shot at
Boy.
me with something if you want.
I just been thinking. So I've been making my Game of the Year video, my top 10, and I don't have Box Boy in that, but I do have Tokyo Mirage
coming out
Sessions,
now, isn't it?
And I do have Spirit of Justice. But I'm thinking about it now, and I really
You've
had
got
fun
some
with
editing
Box
to do,
Box
mate.
Boy. I don't know. I don't think I will change it now. But
We can't just say all that and then keep fighting for Box Boy.
okay, here's what it comes down to, Bally, is I think there's only room for one of these RPGs, Dragon Quest or Tokyo Mirage Sessions, on this list.
I think that's probably true as well, regardless of the Box Boy debate.
Yes, and there are things that I like about both, there are things that I dislike about both.
Shall I give my external opinion of which one I think you like better out of these two?
You can, but let me just okay, you know,
I was just going to say,
ahead.
I think you enjoyed both of these games quite a bit. I think you spent a lot more time on Dragon Quest 7, almost double the time, right? Or even
no, I spent 50 hours in Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Did you? I thought it was 30 for some reason. Ignore me. But you basically, I think you've raised similar levels of flaws with both games at different points. I mean, obviously you played #FE a lot earlier in the year. I don't know which one I think you're gonna. I think you might like Dragon Quest 7 a bit more, just because it does.
Yeah.
It does the things an RPG does that you enjoy better.
Yeah. It's definitely. I think from a gameplay perspective, Dragon Quest 7 is far more enjoyable for me. I think Tokyo Mirage Sessions has a smart battle system. But my problem with that game is the difficulty curve is all over the place. Like, if you're playing that game on normal, average enemies are a pushover. They're like you can't even blink and they're dead. And then you get to the bosses and you get fucking steamrolled. Like, it's this gap between your bog standard and your bosses that is just so ridiculous. And by the end of that game, I was just playing on easy just to get through it. And I think when I think back, there's some amazing things about Tokyo Mirage Sessions. The music is fucking awesome. Like, it's the kind of music, it's very cheesy anime J-pop, but there's some songs in there that I would gladly listen to outside a game setting. And I don't usually do that. Like, I like to listen to game music, but I don't go out of my way to, like, listen to songs. And I remember, like, one evening, I just put on some of those tunes while I was going to sleep, and I was, like, listening to them. I'm like, these are really good. So that stuff is great, and it looks really nice. It just has this great aesthetic to it, but the problem is it's trying to be Persona, and it doesn't get all the way there. Like, I think the characters are very thin. Like, they want to be these more deep, like, nuanced characters, but they come off as stereotypes, I think, in a bad way, and that's not what Persona excels at. Persona is much more about connecting you to them and giving them flaws and deep, interesting problems, and I don't think any of those characters had these. I think maybe it's to do with the idea that they're all from a talent agency, and so they're kind of superficial celebrities in a way, you know? So that didn't quite connect with me, and again, I mentioned this, but the idea that there's no English dialogue, it's Japanese with subtitles, is usually not a problem when I'm watching some anime sometimes, but it was, for whatever reason, a bit harder here. And it also, that game goes on way longer than it should do. It should have ended after 30 hours, which is probably why you thought I played it for 30, because I kept saying it should have ended already. And it took me 50, which I was like, God damn. Dragon Quest 7, on the other hand, has problems later and is paced very slowly. There was a section I did, like, couple of days ago where I'm going to this area and I have to go through this dungeon and then I have to go back through it and then back through it and then because it's in the past I have to go to the present and back through it again and back through it, and then it doesn't give you options to speed past these things. Like it's like you have these abilities to fast travel and it's like, oh no, you're in a section of the game where you can't fast travel right now, sorry. It's like, really? Like, this is so inconvenient. I'm like late in the game and it's not letting me fast travel anymore. I just want to do this, and I can't evacuate from this dungeon for a random reason, and I can't save in this spot for a random reason. And so there are problems, I think, with some of the workings of that game, especially the menu and the UI, which actually feels sluggish and slow and looks very archaic. It looks just like all the Dragon Quest games have, and I think it needs to be updated, basically. It's very simple text, almost Times New Roman, like it feels like a Word document, the UI in this game, which, considering it's a remake, they probably should have done a better job of that. So all that considered, I think that in the end, I've enjoyed Dragon Quest VII more. I think it's overstayed its welcome, but I've enjoyed playing it the whole time. Whereas I think Tokyo Mirage Sessions overstayed its welcome, and while that was happening, I wasn't enjoying playing it. So for that reason, I think Dragon Quest VII is the one here, and we cut Tokyo Mirage Sessions, as harsh as that is, because I know a lot of people enjoyed that game. Just
good justification.
It did bad things. Yeah.
Well, we're down to 6.
Okay, and I think you would probably say, and I would agree, to get Rhythm Heaven on this list, because I think we can lock that in quite easily.
I was going to argue massively that it's a lock.
Yeah.
I obviously you've not played it yet. I don't know how much you enjoy or not enjoy rhythm games, but I mean,
I like them. I mean, I like traditional like Guitar Hero stuff. I enjoyed Donkey Konga back in the day. I've played some rhythm stuff here and there.
I honestly think the only way you could not like Rhythm Heaven Megamix is by not being good at it, and I'm confident that you'd be
totally
better, just as good as, if not better than me at this, based on how you've done with Donkey Konga, Guitar Hero, etc.
Right.
So like, I think.
And I play the guitar. I have some sense of rhythm, so
we've got 3 games locked: Fate's Conquest, Star Fox Zero, Rhythm Heaven Megamix. So we got
Dragon Quest VII. Dragon Quest VII.
Oh, is he locking that?
Well, I'm going to put it on the list provisionally, because if we talk about out of those two, I think one. I want one to be on the list.
I was going to say we just need like a discussion between Fire Emblem Fates, Birthright, Box Boy, and Dragon Quest VII. One of these games isn't getting on.
Okay. In that case, my argument is Birthright can get the fuck out. And I have really railed against Birthright. I think it does so many things wrong. I think the map design is fundamentally boring. I think the enemies you fight against are not placed smartly. They don't have anything interesting about them. They are just numbers and numbers. And Birthright creates difficulty through numbers and not through strategy. And I think ultimately that is a failing of a Fire Emblem game. If you're creating difficulty... It's potentially, in some ways, yes, but it depends how good you are at the game as well. And I think that's...
I was moderately good and didn't struggle massively until the end.
Yeah, but you did have a stopping point where you couldn't get through it because...
Oh, at the end?
It was certain factors with under-leveling and stuff, but it was more to do with the fact that you were under-leveled. It wasn't
Are you talking about at the end, yeah?
Yeah. It was more to do with the fact that you were underleveled than with the fact that you couldn't figure out how to do it. Like, your numbers were lower than their numbers. And I think ultimately that is the reason I don't like it, is because it doesn't have as much strategy. It doesn't allow you to use like abilities and items in a way that is smart, and it puts you in these areas that are more open and easily navigable and just have walls and walls of things you have to go through.
But I also think Birthright is the most beautiful Fire Emblem I've played. I think that the setting with all the Japanese buildings and architecture and the characters such as like the ninjas and samurais and things, I think look incredible. And I think that the more I play any of the Fates games, Fire Emblem Awakening looks like Fisher-Price Fire Emblem. Like it's really is
I
easy.
think that's
Come
really
on.
harsh. No, man.
It's so easy compared to these games, and like.
You're talking in terms of difficulty.
In terms of difficulty, but we were talking about the numbers game before, and Birthright is just so mechanically different from Awakening, in my view, in a good way, for the simple reason that Awakening becomes so overpowered. And I know you like that aspect, and you enjoy the power trip of it, and that's almost like a separate argument to the strategy, because it sort of balls over the strategy. It doesn't really have strategy in some regards by the end of that game, because your units can become so powerful, you can pair them up.
They are cannonballs.
And I don't want to just use all these arguments to defend the whole of Fates, because you're right, and I definitely see the fewer differences between Birthright and Conquest than you do, but I still think that Birthright, while there are some levels that are lazily designed and there are some levels that have too many waves of enemies, I still think there is strategy in that game and that the units are cool and interesting. And I know you rail on the story, but I still think like the Fates idea of the multiple paths is a cool idea, and Birthright is one of those parts, is part of that trilogy, you might say. And I do think that Birthright is fundamentally a better game in my view than Awakening, and like that's what I would defend in terms of keeping this on this list. And I would drop in a heartbeat Box Boy, because the original Box Boy absolutely had me last year, and I was so obsessed with that game. I sunk in so much time into that game in such a short space of time, and I really don't think that this game did enough by the simple addition of another set of boxes. I thought it was cool for the first few worlds, but by the end of that game I was like, this is a chore, I'm not enjoying this, and I just never felt that with the original. And if you do the sort of Galaxy 1 Galaxy 2 comparison, you never feel tired at any moment of Galaxy 1 or 2 in my view. Like it reinvents itself, it does so much new stuff that regardless of the fact it's copying the formula, it's reinventing the formula to a degree where nothing ever burns out. And I would argue that the end of Box Boy burned out too much for me. And if Box Boy comes out in like next year,
Dude, have you seen the trailer for the third Box Boy?
Is there a third Box Boy already announced?
Yeah, they already announced it. It's the last one. It's called Goodbye Box Boy in Japan. It's coming out, I think, next year.
So it's the last one.
It is the last one, confirmed. But man, there's some cool fucking mechanics in that trailer. It looks like a big step up.
And that's interesting, and I think that's an interesting debate we could have next year. But I can't justify Box Boy being on this list. I know it beat Xenoblade last year, and it deserved to beat Xenoblade last year, but it's the
problem here is that we just cut Star Fox Guard because we can't have 2 Star Fox games on this list, and I think we also can't have 2 Fire Emblem games on this list. So that's my problem here. I think Box Boy is really excellent, and it does clutch on a lot of things from the old game, but I think it actually improves on some things and makes some smart decisions and has levels that really scratch my head, but I every time was enjoying myself playing that game. I thoroughly enjoyed playing that game, like the whole way through, and I feel like you got burned out far quicker than I did.
I definitely
And my
did.
problem with Birthright is I didn't enjoy playing it. I just went through it because I felt I had to. And also, all these arguments you're making about Birthright, about its positivities, the setting and all that stuff, and all these characters, Conquest has all that as well. There are lots of maps. There are lots of maps from Birthright that are in Conquest. All those characters you see from a different perspective. You get a story that is much more interesting. It may not be better, but it actually comes from an angle that isn't generic.
Totally, and I'm not going to argue that Birthright is better than Conquest, but you do see a lot more of Hoshido and the more unique units early on in that game, and I think that's a really cool thing that Birthright
But they suck.
does.
All those units are terrible.
Suck.
They are awful. They're weak trash. They're not good. They're not good units. They were a pain in the ass to deal with, and
they're not bulky. I'll give you that, but you just got to use them in different ways. Like I do think they are decent and good units, and I think that like if we're gonna. The more you're railing against Birthright, it just drags down Conquest more.
No, it doesn't. No, it does
because I see them so
the
similar.
Aspects of Birthright I'm criticizing, Bally, the aspects of Birthright I'm criticizing are amazing in Conquest, or better. You know, like the characters in Conquest are way better.
But your view of making the units better is by making them more traditional.
Right, but that's what I enjoyed about it. I think that it was a game that had those things, but also, it's not just that though. It's the fact that the maps had a setup and a design to them that was so much more interesting. The objectives in Conquest are far more fascinating and hard to navigate and strategic than the ones in Birthright. Tell me an objective in Birthright that wasn't kill all the enemies or beat the boss. You can't, because there isn't one. There's no variety in that gameplay whatsoever. Whereas in Conquest, you've already played a chapter in Chapter 10 that is survive for 10 turns against this onslaught of enemies that has these ballistas that you have to manage, that has new units
really
that you have to deal with, that
that
has houses that you have to visit to get items from, that has a boss who can summon a wave that changes the entire outlay of the map. Those 4 aspects in one single map that you cannot say are in any aspect of Birthright whatsoever. It is absolutely a step above by miles and miles and eons. It is not even a contest. Birthright is a pitiful mess compared to Conquest.
I do agree Birthright is fairly difficult to defend mechanically versus a game like Conquest, but I do still prefer its mechanics over something like Awakening, and I do think that you need to give more credit for the new units and the setting of Hoshido, because I think it's something that's new to the Fire Emblem series and is really cool. And it's a bigger part of Birthright than Conquest just because of the setting of Hoshido. And I do think that Birthright should scrape into this, and that I get you're defending. I get you defending Box Boy, but we can always keep Birthright and Box Boy and relegate DQ7.
No, Dragon Quest 7 absolutely should be on this list.
But but you're defending 2 games and I'm defending 1, and you're asking for the one I'm defending to get cut.
I hate this.
Which, I mean, we can go along with that and cut Birthright, but it's going to have consequences later for the top 3.
Oh God! Oh dear! You're making. You're right. You're very right, Bally. Man, I don't like it, but Box Boy. It's hard to defend. I get it. It's really hard to defend because it is so incremental. It's not a big change. It's just I had so much more fun playing that game, and I think it's smart and it's good, and I think I'll let it go. But I'll let it go with the caveat that I do not want Birthright any higher than 5.
It's 5. Don't you worry.
There is no
Birthright
way it
can
goes
be
any
5,
higher.
and I think it should be 5.
And I can't physically say it goes higher. So there you go, Bally. You get fucking Birthright on this damn list, which is what I never wanted to happen at the end of this year. But look at here we are.
But I really enjoyed that game. You know,
you did. Okay, let's be fair. This is a joint list, and you did very much enjoy Birthright.
Yeah, I do agree with a lot of your arguments you've made about the game.
Yeah.
But that is also our number 5 locked. We're in agreement.
All right, yeah,
Fire
sure.
Emblem Fates, Birthright. We've got 4 games to play with at the top here.
I'm going to go ahead and say Dragon Quest 7 can go in at 4. I think the rest of these games are better than it, and we have clearly made that apparent from the fact that we were trying to figure out where to even get that in, if it was to get in at all. And I think I've said my piece on it. I'm literally playing it right now while we're having podcasting problems. I'm on the final boss right now, so
just while my laptop melts. But
yeah, totally. I think that there are definitely better Dragon Quest games out there. I've been told by people that this is not one of the better ones, but I haven't really thought it was enjoyable. And also, there's something about the class system in this game that really gives me a Fire Emblem vibe, in the sense that you go to the Abbey and you change your classes, and I found this sheet online. So, you know, Bally, I showed you, like, back when we were playing Fire Emblem 7, this chart of, like, what everyone, like, promoted into. Yes. And I just love that shit. I just love mapping it out and saying, oh, I've got to do this. And Dragon Quest 7 is like that, because it's like, okay, I've got to master these classes, which will let me unlock this promoted one. And then once I've got 2 of these promoted classes, I'll unlock this one, which can get all this shit. And there's this chart I found online, and the chart looks awesome. And I've just been using that chart the whole time. I've been sitting there listening to podcasts while I grind out job levels. It's just given me that kind of sense that Fire Emblem gives me, like leveling people up and stuff. So I think that that's a great system, and there was a job system in Dragon Quest 9 that I just didn't get into. I didn't really understand or invest in, and this one I really have enjoyed. So I'll throw that out there as appreciation. Dragon Quest 7, I'll say sticks at number 4. All right,
that's 5 and 4 locked.
Yeah, so we got three games here. We've got Fire Emblem Fates Conquest, we've got Star Fox Zero, and we have Rhythm Heaven Megamix. Bally, two of these games are picks that you're going to be championing. I think it's
I
between
can
Rhythm
give you
Heaven
a
and
top
Star Fox
three now
Zero
if you
here.
want, and you can see if you agree with me or not.
Okay.
And this is bearing in mind Birthright made the list, which I'm very well aware of.
Okay.
But I think Fire Emblem Fates Conquest, Star Fox Zero, and Rhythm Heaven Megamix can be locked at that.
So you're saying Megamix at three?
Yes.
Star Fox. So let's have this conversation because I'm very interested in this. Is You have played both these games and you have enjoyed both of them. Which one is it that speaks to you more?
Star Fox Zero and Rhythm Heaven Megamix.
Yeah.
Uh, Star Fox Zero just has something about it that it's not scared to be different. It's not scared to try something new. It's not scared to have a level in there that's just no fun whatsoever, but the rest of the game is awesome. And I'm talking about like the sort of stealthy robot parts, which
Right.
are
Yeah, I completely
not
forgot about
good.
those.
They are not good. But when I talked about this game earlier in the year, this came out way back in May, I want to say, those dog fights, the boss fights, most of them are so good. They are just so good. I think it's a better looking game than it's given a lot of credit for. I think that it speaks to me more because it's not scared to be different. Rhythm Heaven Megamix obviously is a solid game, and it's like rhythm games in and of themselves are very unusual and unique and different. And I've not played one before, other than sort of Rhythm Thief, which is sort of a very different monster. But
Sure.
I just think Star Fox Zero does stuff that you could only ever do on Wii U, and it's an experience that you're not going to get on Switch. You're not going to get on any future systems for the time being. And it took way too long to come out on Wii U, and it did get a lot of criticism, and I do think the controls take for such a short game, the controls take a very long time to get used to, and I think that is a big criticism of the game. But at the same time, it's still arcadey Star Fox. There's a lot of replayability. You can go back and try and get better results and missions and things, and I've still not done that, and that is bad that I've not done that. But that's almost part of the nature of the show. And you play a game, you enjoy it, you talk about it, and then you play something else, and it's very difficult to go back and play games you enjoy. And had I not done the show, I would be playing a lot more Star Fox Zero this year than I ended up playing. But to your question, this game speaks to me more because it's different, it's unique, it's not scared to be different, and it oozes more Nintendo, I would even argue, than any game on this list. And I think that's
Very
something
true,
that Nintendo shouldn't forget going forward. Is, we've talked about Super Mario Run earlier. It's great. It's also quite a safe thing in terms of what you could do if Nintendo made a 2D Mario platformer on mobile phones. And as great as the other games on this list are, many of them are fairly safe in many aspects. But Star Fox Zero is not scared at all, and I really hope that going into the era of the Switch, that Nintendo can try to do experiences like Star Fox Zero and say, here's a franchise that we're going to try and reinvent. Because like I've said before, Star Fox Zero looks like Star Fox 64. It plays and feels nothing like that game, and in my view, that's for good. I think you're not a big fan of Star Fox 64. I quite liked it.
No.
I think that
I'm not a fan of it, but I can respect the Star Fox series, and I can respect this being this high on this list because I'm just not good at those games. I don't think they're bad games. I don't have the aptitude for it. I'm not the sort of player who can get my head around these kind of flying-esque, 3D space things, and that's my fault. That's not the game's fault particularly.
Yeah.
And I can't really.
And I think 2 is a really good position for this game for this year. I think we're going to talk about Conquest in a bit, but I am playing through that game. I really enjoy Fire Emblem Fates Conquest. I think it is one of your top games of all time. It's your favorite Fire Emblem ish. I don't want to put words in your mouth. You'll get there as well. But it's a game we both love, and this is a combined list. And I think you've not played Star Fox Zero. I think you would enjoy Star Fox Zero? Probably not. I think you'd find it like just harder to control, more frustrating.
I might pull a Jim Sterling and
and I really don't think Star Fox Zero is for everyone. I think you have to be into the space shooters. You have to like Star Fox. You have to be prepared to learn a very, very, very different control system. You can't just go in having played other space shooters assuming you can play this one. You need to step back and relearn a bit. So that's all my reasoning behind Star Fox Zero. I think I've not really talked much about Rhythm Heaven Megamix. Maybe I should do that quickly now. But
I mean, Rhythm Heaven Megamix is ultimately a collection of old game stuff plus some new things.
Yeah.
And I guess those two games are kind of similar in that way with Star Fox, because I know that Star Fox reuses locations and things from older games with, new gameplay twists on them. But Rhythm Heaven seemingly is like, hey, here's an old game that wasn't a thing that you've not played yet. So maybe, that's another reason you could maybe dock it down. But for you've never played them before, so it was all new.
Yeah, totally. And rhythm games in general, I've just started this year. When we're talking about non-sort of Guitar Hero, Donkey Kong, which is obviously rhythm as well, but these sort of handheld Japanese style, let's combine WarioWare with rhythm sort of experience. It was just really, really satisfying. Some of the music in that game is fantastic. You mentioned hashtag FE earlier with sort of the J-pop. This is sort of like, it's sort of the dancier side of J-pop, you could maybe even argue, in this game. It's like a lot heavier, like beats and things. And I do think you'd enjoy this game, Nbz, and you should definitely try it at some point in 2017 or beyond. But obviously, it's going to be a busy year with Switch. But it's a good number 3 for this list, especially in this rather poor year of 2016.
Yeah, I think if I had played Rhythm Heaven, then it may have been able to go up the list a bit more. But, that's the nature of this, is like some of us play some stuff and the other person plays the other. And I'll see. I definitely want to get to that. But let's maybe talk about Fire Emblem Fates Conquest, because I think we can agree that this should be number 1. This would be my number 1 if I was to do a list on my own. What a fucking glorious piece of work is Fire Emblem Fates Conquest. I talked about how Birthright had soured me on the franchise, and I took a long break between playing these two games because I was just kind of pissed off at what Fates had done with Birthright. There are a lot of elements now when I look back on Birthright, I kind of retract maybe a bit, in the sense that the weapon triangle is annoying as fuck and it doesn't make sense in my old Fire Emblem brain, but you get used to it eventually. And
that was your first experience of it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Birthright just threw me in at the deep end. And then you have stuff like, the new pairing up stuff, which I thought was much better than Awakening in the end. Like, it's hard to get used to decide whether to pair with someone or to go with attack stance, and I actually really like that the enemies do it as well. It just adds a layer of strategy to the overall playfield that is way more intense and way more threatening than what Awakening had, because you were just absolutely just blasting through people without any care in the world in that game. And Conquest really takes it to another level, because I think Birthright does it sometimes where it has enemies doubled up or paired or whatever. Conquest just throws that shit at you constantly. It's not only is it enemies that are paired up together, they'll run next to each other and be in a good alignment. They'll have a certain ability. I always talk about this one moment in the Rainbow Sage Tower where you have these 3 ninjas, and they all have the ability. I can't remember what it's called. It's where they swap position. Lunge, I think it's called. They all have lunge, and there are 3 of them, and one of them comes up, lunges your unit. The next one is now in range and lunges your unit, and this sequence of these 3 ninjas moves your unit from one side of the room to the other, and it's crazy. It's like the enemies are way smarter. They employ these tactics that completely screw you over, and it just makes battles so much more difficult to deal with and manage, but it's so much more fun because it forces you to have strategy. It forces you to think, okay, I need to use the shelter command here because there's no other way to rescue someone and I've got to get them out of the way. So I need to make sure this unit is in my side. I need to make sure I have a rescue wand to get someone out of a tight situation. I've got to use debuffing from these certain items. I've got to be able to make sure my ability is lined up with this enemy. I've got to get to this chest in time before something terrible happens. Like, there are moments of constant fear and thinking and just planning that goes into every single map, and there's always something fresh thrown at you, whether it be the level with the pots where you have to break them open and some of them are poison but some of them heal you, or whether it be the level where the doors open if you stand on certain switches and you can cut off enemies from you in certain spots to stop the flow, but then you have to worry about the ones opening on the other side and make sure your timing is correct. Like, constantly throwing new ideas and new mechanics and wrinkles into the maps, and just absolutely blew me away. It was a masterclass in design, unlike I have seen in anything in many years, and is absolutely one of my favorite Fire Emblem games, if not my favorite. And that's a tough nut to crack because I'm a huge fan of 7. I think Path of Radiance is exceptional, and I think Conquest sits alongside them at the echelon, the top spot of all this. So there you go. There's my love of Conquest, Bally.
Wow.
You've got to play more of this damn game.
I do, and
I love it.
I will do in 2017, and we'll be talking about that. Shall we do a quick rundown of the top 5?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Number 5 was Fire Emblem Fates Birthright. Number 4 was Dragon Quest VII. Number 3 was Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix. Number 2 was Star Fox Zero. And number 1 is Fire Emblem Fates Conquest.
Well, there you have it, everyone. That is our top 5 of 2016. There's been better years, Bally, I think. But there are some really good games in here. I don't want to deny them that because there's some great stuff and I've enjoyed playing a lot of it. So, yeah, I think that rounds us out for everything. I guess that is the show. So thanks everyone for listening. It's been a good year. We've had some good growth on the iTunes front. We had the YouTube channel launched. Overall, some success.
We went to Gamescom.
Yeah, absolutely. Good
we
stuff. We
got press passes for This Nintendo Life. It was awesome.
We did. It was great. So hopefully we'll do more cool stuff in 2017. And hopefully you'll be along for the ride and keep enjoying the show. Bally, what do you want to do to close out the show? What should we tell the fine folks to do? Where can they find us?
Please find us on Twitter. Check out the This Nintendo Life Twitter account, which is at TNL Podcast. That's at TNL Podcast. It's the best place to go to find out the latest on all the videos for the YouTube channel and the episodes when they go up on iTunes and other podcasting apps.
Absolutely. It is the place to be. Love being there. It is the bestest. You can email us, of course, at our email address, which is, Bally,
ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. That is ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. Maybe you want some of your predictions for 2017, because that's going to be the big show to start off the year next time for episode 83.
Yeah, totally. We definitely want to do that. It's going to be 3 days out of the Switch launch when that episode goes up, so might be a little bit stuff.
And perhaps we should say we're going to do a regular episode for 83 where we do our predictions, and then we'll hopefully do a reaction show as soon as possible to the big announcements on January 12th/13th.
Well, it literally is /13th for us because it's like 4 and 5 a.m. respectively.
Yep.
So gonna have to wake up early for
what
that
we
one,
do
Bally.
for you listeners, eh? What we do for you listeners.
I mean, it's selfishly for us as well. Let's be honest.
Absolutely.
But yes, of course. You can find the show in many places. We're on iTunes, where you can review us. Please review us. It's Christmas. If you want to give us a Christmas present, don't send anything in the post. Don't give us video games. Review us on iTunes. That would be the most wonderful thing in the world. We'd really appreciate that. So go ahead and go there. You can find us on Stitcher as well. Of course, we're on YouTube now. You can find our channel, youtube.com/ThisNintendoLife. And you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Lordnbz. He's at Ballyman91. And we are pretty much done. Been a hell of a 2016, Bally.
It's been a lot of ups and downs, perhaps.
Yeah,
you can
say that.
But and from Nintendo's perspective, I think quite a lot of downs, but
Yeah.
2017, from Nintendo's perspective, has a lot going for it, and I think
Oh yeah.
we'll talk obviously a lot next time about predictions and things, but the Nintendo Switch is looking pretty hot right now.
It's pretty tasty. Pretty tasty.
A lot of my friends are very interested in the Nintendo Switch. You know, they don't
Yeah, you were
talk to me
saying.
much about Nintendo games. I'd say they play a fair amount of video games, but they're very interested to see like the price of this thing and actually are willing to pick one up if it's cheap, which is pretty exciting considering they've not bought a Nintendo system in a very long time.
Totally. That's it's good positive news. It's stuff that will hopefully help them get out of the dump that they're in right now, and I'm sure that they are putting all their resources behind that stuff. So we'll see, and it's going to be exciting times. So before we go, we probably might, we'll see. We might have another episode which isn't a Nintendo episode, which is talking
Oh,
about a
boy.
Star Wars thing
There you
before
go.
the next episode. So that might go up. We're going to have a bit of a chat about Rogue One. We've both seen it, and we have some thoughts on it. So like we did last year with Force Awakens, there'll probably be a Star Wars podcast that goes up in the feed. If you want to listen to that, go ahead. If not, you'll just wait for the next show, because that'll be after that happens. But until then, thanks for 2016 of some ups and downs and some fun times, and hopefully next year will be even bigger and better. So from me, from Bally, love you all, thanks for listening, goodbye.